As you join us live in the Syrian capital as we continue the Sky News report from inside Syria. In recent months, life here in Syria has taken on a rather sadly familiar pattern each week of a day of major protest, followed by a day of funerals for those who've died in the unrest and the troubles. And it was very much the same yesterday and over the weekend as we saw more funerals taking place. One of the biggest was in a suburb of the city of Homs, where 4 people were buried in the Bab Sabah district of the city. It is a city, of course, that's been very much at the centre of the opposition movement. Now, the human rights activists said that they estimate 24 deaths across Syria over the weekend of protests in a dozen different cities where there were anti-government demonstrations. The activists firmly lay the blame at the door of the government and their security personnel and the much-feared secret police organisations. The government, the regime here, of course, repeatedly denied that they're involved in any of the violence in this country that has seen over 1,500 people die in the last 4 months. Another funeral took place in Homs as well, just nearby in the area of Kaldia. Muslim funerals, of course, traditionally, they try to hold them within 24 hours of death. And large crowds packing into the streets there to pay tribute to those who've died. The opposition groups call them Martyrs. There were similar scenes in other cities as well, particularly here in the capital, Damascus, where there was a funeral in the Qadam district, just 3 miles to the south of where I am. They were burying Rashad Kadea, and they said there that they'd called a local strike. You can see some of the shops shuttered up there, and this was a mark of unity and solidarity with those who had fallen in the cause, as they put it, and very much to show their support for an opposition movement which certainly seems to be gathering momentum. Some observers estimating that as many as 3 million people may have turned out in pro-reform, anti-government rallies across the country on Friday. But it's, of course, worth bearing in mind that there have been plenty of pro-government rallies as well in some of the major cities, particularly in Damascus, and a first chance to see the president himself out on the streets. First time since the troubles began 16 weeks ago. President Assad talking to some of his supporters and thanking them for making a giant flag which was being paraded through the streets. And he was with his English-educated wife, Asma. First time we have seen her in weeks, and that certainly counters some of the rumours that have been doing the rounds here that she may well have left the country and had gone back to Ealing in West London, where she was brought up and educated. The president thanking the people for their support and trying to assure them that he is firmly in control here. And as a sign of that, yesterday President Assad sacked the governor of Hama, one of the cities where there have been huge anti-government rallies. Some eyewitnesses estimated there could have been 400,000 or 500,000 people out on the streets of Hama over the weekend. And him sacking the governor there, he'd sacked previous governors of Homs and of Dara, the city down in the south, in previous months, sign that perhaps the president is trying to reassert his authority. So there are plenty of people who feel that his authority and his control has been seriously undermined in recent months. But opposition leaders here have told Sky News yet again that although they do have a political vision for the future and they are working on trying to find a peaceful way forward, a peaceful transition towards democracy, they do emphasize that their vision for the future of Syria does not include President Bashar al-Assad.